Hello, gentle possums. It's me, your good friend, Angela Mayfield, and I'm here to tell you another story. As you can see, my hair is now silver, and there's a reason for that. Today, I'm going to tell you a favorite story of mine from when I was very, very young. It's called Morgan and You, and it's about two friends named Morgan and You. Morgan is a unicorn, and he has silver hair like me. So I colored my hair to match Morgan. And You is a little bitty baby sheep. You, the word, is what we call a homophone. Those are words that sound alike, but they're spelled different and they mean different things. So there's you, like Y-O-U, like you means you and me means me. And there's you spelled E-W-E, which is a kind of little sheep. And then there's this U spelled Y-E-W, and it's a kind of tree. So Morgan and his little friend You, named after a kind of tree. Do you know who else is named after a kind of tree? Would you like to meet someone? Oh. This is my very good friend, Junie. Her name is, she thinks I have cheese over there, but I don't. Her name is Juniper. Yeah, Juniper. We don't look in the face though, do we? No. Her name is Juniper, and she's my best good friend. I tell her all of my secrets, and she never lets anybody else know them. She's very good. You're so good at keeping secrets. And she also likes stories. She likes, when we ride in the car and we take long trips, and I read stories to her and her dad. And she likes it when I read stories. So she's going to join us today for Morgan and You. Would you like to sit on your stool again? Okay. There you go. All right. So again, this is Morgan. And this is You right here, little sheep, and they are best friends. So this story came out in 1982 when I was 3 years old. So it's a very old book because I am very old. And I've had it since I was like this many, since I was maybe 5. And it's still one of my favorites. So I'm really happy to read this to you today. Morgan and You by Stephen Cosgrove and Robin James. And I'm going to show you lots of pictures because I heard you liked pictures. Like this one. Far beyond the horizon, where the sun is always a little warmer, lies an emerald island, an island where all things magical and real live together in perfect harmony. It's here that you might find a magical, mythical dragon frolicking with common field mice, just in the meadows, an island where the sun and the moon come together to paint the sky the most amazing colors and hues. It's in this place of myth and magic that the most magnificent unicorn that was ever born lives and kicks his heels to the sun. His silvery coat reflects the golden sunshine and sends it flashing high into the crystal blue sky. His mighty horn is twisted in the most gentle fashion, like taffy that's been turned and turned. As he tosses his head, the horn points always to the top of magical Morgan Mountain. It points to the exact spot where, many years before, Morgan was given his magical horn when, by chance, he happened to be touched by the morning star. Morgan's best friend in the whole world was a short, dumpy sheep simply called You. His fur was dirty white and curlier than the tail of a newborn pig. There was nothing magical about You, except for the fact that he loved Morgan and he had a heart cast of the purest gold. Day in and day out, Morgan and you would romp in the meadow and the forest of the magical island. They would graze on the lush green grasses that grew at the base of the spreading umbrella trees. And then, suddenly, as if both were bitten by a bee, they would gallop off, Morgan with his head and tail held high, and you bounding along beside. All would have been happiness and light, were it not for the little sheep, feeling that he wasn't Morgan's equal. Morgan is so beautiful, he would say to himself. I wonder what he sees in ugly me. Early one morning, as Morgan lay sleeping, you slipped away and wandered down to the lily pond at the far end of the meadow. He looked at his own reflection in the early morning light and shuddered in total despair. What I need, you said, is something to make me really special. So he thought, and he thought, and he finally knew what it was. A magnificent horn just like Morgan's. So he set about to make one. With twigs and leaves and a little bit of mud, he fashioned a horn and stuck it on his head. Then, oh so very carefully, he walked back to where Morgan was sleeping. Ahem, he said to the sleeping unicorn. Do you notice anything different about me? Morgan woke with a start and saw his favorite friend standing before him with a glop of mud shaped kind of like a horn stuck on his head. He couldn't help himself and burst out laughing. You began to cry large tears, causing some of the mud to drip down his cheeks. We don't have to laugh, he cried. I was only trying to look like you. But why would you want to look like me? Asked Morgan. So you told Morgan how he really felt about himself. Morgan listened, and when Yu's tears had dried, he said, I like you just the way you are. But if having a horn would make you feel better about yourself, then I'll take you to magical Morgan Mountain, and there we will see if you can be touched by the morning star. You'd really do that for me? Cried the sheep. Of course, said Morgan, for you are my best friend in all the world. And with that, they set off for the mountaintop. But there they go. They traveled the whole day, across the meadow and down the narrow, twisting path that led through the forest. They crossed the bubbling brook and swam the raging river, stopping only once to let you rest his tired little legs. Finally, as the sun was setting, they arrived at the base of Morgan Mountain. Oh, surely we'll rest the night here, puffed the tired little sheep. No, said Morgan, we must be at the very top of the mountain before dawn, or all is lost. They set off again on the trail and climbed high onto the mountain itself. They climbed and they climbed in the evening twilight as the stars glittered about them. At long last, with dawn approaching, they reached the summit. What will happen at dawn? You asked nervously. A bright star will lift from the edge of the earth, said Morgan. And if we're really lucky, it will come near us and you will have your horn. With the darkness of night settled around them, they sat down and waited for dawn. Slowly, the sky began to lighten, Just as Morgan had said, a large star lifted itself from the edge of the earth. It began to rise. Yu stomped his feet in anticipation as the morning star rose higher and higher into the sky. Suddenly, it stopped in mid-flight, and a loud, booming voice echoed out into the night. Little Yu, we know that more than anything else in the world, you wish to have the magical horn of a unicorn. But there is to be only one unicorn at the island on any one time. The only way for you to have your wish is for Morgan to give you his horn. But in doing so, he can never live on the island again and must come with us and ride the morning star forever. Morgan looked down at his little friend and said, If you wish my horn, I will gladly give it to you. Without thinking at all, Yu shouted, Yes, yes, I want the horn more than anything. Before little Yu could blink an eye, Morgan had disappeared, and the beautiful horn was on Yu's head. Yu was so excited about receiving the horn that he shook his head from side to side, but he suddenly realized his newfound gift was not without its price. His friend was gone forever. Tears began to cascade like falling rain as he looked in the sky and followed the rise of the morning star. No, no, he shouted. Without my friend Morgan, I'm nothing. Yu's cries were to no avail as dawn brought the crystal sunlight and the morning star disappeared. Throughout the day, he stood on the mountain, weighed down by the guilt of having the horn of a unicorn. He cried all night throughout the night, wishing he'd never wanted to be anything other than what he was. No, it's too big for him. It's too big for his little head. It's got to be heavy, don't you think? In that brief moment of silence before the dawn, he wished with all his might for the morning star to appear. He wished, and suddenly, just as it had the day before, the star appeared. Please, please, he shouted to the star, I must have my friend back, for without him here, I would surely die of loneliness. For a moment, it looked as though the star was not going to come near, but then it slowed in the sky, and Yu once again heard the voice. You wish to give up your horn so soon, little one? It asked. But you wanted to wear the horn to be special. No, no, said the small sheep. The love I feel for my friend is more than enough to make me special. The star paused, as in deep in thought, and then said, Your wish shall be granted, but the horn must be given back to Morgan, for he must always be a unicorn. And so it was done. With that, the star disappeared. From that day on until forever, Morgan and Yu played in the meadows and fields on the Emerald Island. In those rare times when he didn't feel special, Yu would look up at his friend Morgan, and quite magically, a small crystal horn would appear on his head, built entirely of love. When you look with envy on friends that you have found, think of the horn of Morgan and the love of Yu abound. The end. So that is Morgan and Yu, and you see that I did my hair to match, and I hope that you have friends and that the friendship that you share is enough to make you feel special, because having friends is the most special thing that you can have. Thank you so much for sitting with me with this story time, and I will see you very soon. Be safe and stay healthy, and say hi to your friends.